Hey everybody, welcome to Cleveland FC. My name is Parker. Let's get started looking at MLS Fantasy Gameweek 5. Um, this is going to be a very special game week because it is happening during an international break. MLS will apparently always just hold matches during the international break, despite the fact that the teams will be missing their best players in most cases, and it really does kind of take a big dent out of the competitiveness of the games. Most teams don't have great depth, so kind of throws a lot of things also out the window. That does kind of make it a little bit of fun, though, for fantasy. So let's take a look and see at what this is going to mean for our teams this week, and some players to look at, as well as some who will be missing. Um, so I think the first thing to do is you're definitely going to want to take a look at the MLS Soccer.com. That is Major League Soccer.com. Their website, which will have a March International window call-up page. So be sure to take a look through that as you're making your teams, because the fantasy game does not always update who is available and who is not. It flags some players, but some are definitely not flagged as being unavailable because of international duty. As far as what that also means for picking your teams, just kind of keep in mind that certain players will influence the scores of players who are available. So if someone is missing, say Miles Robinson, he is not with Atlanta United. Does that mean that Brooks Lennon is as likely to get a clean sheet? Possibly not. So keep those things in mind. But once again, the international break can be kind of fun. Everything kind of goes out the window with it. So let's take a look and see some of the players that we're going to want to be picking, as well as some of the players who are going to be missing. Zayla Ryan will be out. He represents Armenia. Of course he does. Armenian Zayla Ryan. He represents Armenia, and so he will be missing as they're qualifying for the Euros. Ricky Rubio with Colorado will be out, which might be a good thing, picking against Colorado this week. He's really their only scoring threat. Buongo will be away for LAFC, along with Cifuentes, Palacios. Jolic with the LA Galaxy. Apparently a huge number of players from Minnesota United just will not be available. They're going to be majorly depleted this week. I think they're a great team to pick against. Kyoto is going to be away, but Montreal is on bye, so keep that in mind as you are setting up switcheroos and things. Massim Chanot will be with Luxembourg from New York City FC. Gayese with Orlando, along with Facundo Torres, will be out for Orlando City there. The Union will be missing Gazdag and Jose Martinez. Mosquera with Portland will be away, along with Montero from San Jose. And then Newhow and Alex Roldan will be out for the Sounders, along with Rui Diaz. Most of the Canadian players who start for Toronto, they will be gone. And then, like I was saying, this can also kind of drive who you're going to pick against. I think Vancouver's got a decent matchup there with Minnesota being pretty depleted. Austin against Colorado. Colorado's also got some injury problems. Jack Price is out. He's a big player for them, and I think that kind of bodes well for Austin. Philly's interesting because they're going to be missing some players, but then also Orlando's going to be missing a lot of important players, some starters, and that could be a good thing for Philly, or that could be a game that kind of turns into one of those surprising messes that can kind of be fun during the break. And then I think San Jose actually has a decent matchup, and SKC, also Sporting, they might have a good matchup. You might even take a look at FC Dallas. LAFC has tremendous depth, but you take a few players out, maybe some chemistry gets mixed up there, and opens open some opportunities for some Dallas players to have a good week. And then Houston is going to be playing NYCFC, and that could just be a favorable matchup anyway. Take a look at the injury report. These are some players who have definitely, I think, been ruled out. Shaqiri with Chicago. Tui Loma is questionable for Charlotte, along with Woodward. Jack Price with Colorado is going to be out, I think, for the season with an Achilles injury. DC United has 3 or 4 defensive starters out. The keeper for the Galaxy, Bond, will be out. So time for the Jonathan Klinsmann campaign for him to be the starter for the U.S. national team for the 2026 World Cup and lead us to victory. Time for that train to start. Gregor with Miami is going to be away, or he's injured, along with Lewis Morgan with New York Red Bull. He's questionable. Andre Blake is going to be out for a few weeks with Philly. A huge number of players for the Timbers are injured. Danielle, the keeper from San Jose, will be out. Diamond and Insigne with Toronto, also injured. And then some players that you might want to check out if they are available or playing on game day when rosters come out would be Alan Polito and Johnny Russell with Sporting Kansas City. Tim Parker with St. Louis, possibly out. Arcel has some questionable players, Holt, Oviedo, and Severino. And I think that Carles Gil also has a chance to be missing. Definitely check that New England roster when that drops. So now getting on to some picks, I think that this is a great weekend for a keeperoo just because of kind of all of the chaos going on. It's pretty unpredictable. Definitely look at picking up kind of one of the less expensive keepers, along with maybe one of the premiums. I think it's a good week to kind of hunt for a clean sheet with keepers, and switcheroo is definitely a way to get 2 bites at the apple with that, basically. So I really like McCarthy with LA, as long as LAFC kind of is able to keep that defensive cohesion together, which I think that they will. And then Bendick with Philly, he's going to be the starter. Andre Blake is out. Philly's definitely missing some players on international duty, but at his price and with Orlando really struggling so far this year to score, he's definitely worth considering for a keeperoo. Along with Jonathan Klinsmann, LA's got the early kickoff, so you're definitely going to know his score ahead of the other kickoffs for the day. So it's a pretty good way to work a keeperoo in. If you just want to go for one keeper, Kinder with Miami. They're playing Chicago at home. I like that matchup for them. And then Stuver with Austin, Colorado is very bad, and they're going to be missing pretty much their best player, and Jack Price is injured. So it's going to be a tough week for them, I think. Probably a tough season for the Rapids altogether. Getting into the defenders here, I think Julian Gressel's kind of got to be your first name in. Half of Minnesota United is out. He's an out-of-position defender who plays as an attacking midfielder. He's pretty much absolutely what you want in terms of a fantasy asset. And currently he's tied with number 1 for bonus points among defenders. Definitely a player to keep an eye on all season long. Getting a good matchup also in this game should be a solid pick. I think that he's fairly expensive at around $9 million, but still get him in. Kai Wagner, he's been a little bit underwhelming this year. I think he's only got 19 points on the season, and at his price tag, he's almost $8 million. So you definitely expect a little bit more out of him. Not quite sure what's going on there. Maybe CCL is taking a toll on him, and maybe we'll see if he can kind of have a better match against Orlando, who's a bit depleted. So Nashville is taking on Cincinnati, and I think that this is sort of looking like it might be a decent game for Nashville. I think that Acosta is dealing with a little bit of an injury problem. He came off the bench last week against Chicago for Cincy, but he was very effective when he came off of the bench, obviously, as Cincinnati came back. I do think, though, that Nashville's defense is good, and Walker Zimmerman, he's capable of racking up bonus points as well as being a set-piece target. So he's definitely a player to look for, along with the rest of their defense is good, all good fantasy options. Since he has shown, though, that they can score, either pour on a lot of goals as they did against Chicago, or gut out a win, or in this case they will be on the road, so that's a favorable result for them against a good team as they did against Seattle at home. I don't see a clean sheet here. I think that maybe 1-1, 2-1, low scoring game, but no clean sheet. For the New England Revolution, I think Brennaby and Jones are definitely good picks. I think DCU scores at home, but New England is going to have a lot of chances in this game. DC just doesn't seem like they're putting it together just yet. It's early in the year for them, and they've definitely struggled. They've also got a lot of injuries. I think that this is a good week, even as Brian Jones are defenders on the road. I think it's a good week for them. John Gallagher for Austin at home against Colorado. He's a player who likes to get forward. I think he's already got at least one goal on the year. He's definitely a good pick. He's pretty inexpensive. Might be a little bit of a kind of a punt type of pick, but Justin Glad against St. Louis at home for RSL. St. Louis, good. They seem like the answer is they are good actually. But are they good actually at altitude? We'll find out. And Justin Glad's definitely another one of those defenders like Zimmerman, target on set pieces, gets decent bonus, worth looking at this week. Chiellini for LAFC. If he starts, I'm going to be having him in my team. It's fun. It's fun having a player like Chiellini on your fantasy team. I don't think anybody really ever thought that they'd be putting him on their MLS fantasy team. So I think that that's definitely a fun pick and a good one. Kristoff with Miami. They've got Chicago at home. I think that that's a decent matchup, and I think that he's been pretty good this year for them. Caleb Wiley, I think he should be in your team. He is inexpensive. He's scoring goals, getting assists. He's a defender. Definitely a player to have on your fantasy roster, especially this week. In midfield, I think looking at your prime midfielders, I think DeRussi, Espinoza, and Mukhtar probably the top choices. Hector Herrera is scoring about 10 points a game for Houston, and he's definitely kind of their key player, kind of their talisman, which is sort of interesting because that's definitely not a role that he's typically played. Definitely a player to pick, especially at home. I think New York City, we'll see how they do. I don't know that they've really been tested yet this year, and this should be a decent game for them, for Houston. Klitsch with DC United. He's decent. I'm not quite sure what to make of DCU so far this year. You expect them. You've seen them score goals. They scored a bunch of goals against Toronto in Week 1, so we know that they're capable. But who knows how they'll do against New England? And once again, take a look at Harley Skill. If he starts, I think he's a good pick. Kind of that next tier down, I think Loven with St. Louis. He's still an excellent option. A lot of things go through him. He's one of those deep lying playmakers. Gets a lot of touches on the ball, a lot of key passes. He's the kind of player who has a decent floor, a pretty high ceiling, and is at a great price. If Portland is anything, missing their entire roster, it'll go through Eric Williamson, and he might be a decent pick. Definitely a lower budget pick this week. If you're looking for kind of a solid points guy, like decent floor, Aiden Morris is at 7.5 for Columbus, and he is very quietly racking up 6 points a game. So not a bad start to the season for him. There's some players that are on the road who you like their matchup, but maybe not the best option in Puig, Roldan, and Loidero. They might be good punts. Maybe low floor, high ceiling type guys away this week. Tillman with LAFC is priced very nicely at 7.7. I think that he's going to be kind of one of their main attacking midfielders in this game, especially with some players out. So I am taking a close look at him. I think this could be a good team, a good week for some punts as well. You take a look at sort of those lower price players like Sullivan with Philly, 4.5, Ojeda at 6 with Orlando. Definitely some interesting picks there. Is this going to be a big week for the forwards? I don't know. It might be. There are so many other positions that are a bit depleted, and there are weakened defenses for sure. There are good forwards who are still around. I think that Vela, Iwobice, and Araujo are the top picks for forwards this week. For me, Carranza is out for Philly with a red card, and so Woodhays, I think he's a good option for Philly against Orlando. Once again, they're going to have a lot of backups in the game. Opoku with LAFC should be looked at. I think that he should start, and then I think that this might be a decent week for Zardes against Colorado. This is he's a quality player. Maybe he's gonna kind of start finishing some chances soon. As far as captain, this is a tough call. I'm a bit split right now. For me, it's between Driussi being kind of that high ceiling, low floor guy, but my pick might end up being Hector Herrera. So just to kind of take a quick look at how my team is shaping up at the moment, we can see here. Here's how I'm set up. Yes, Carlos Espinoza, I think also solid pick against Toronto. They're going to be depleted as well. San Jose is pretty decent. He definitely has everything running through him. So as I have things set right now, I've got the Keeperoo with McCarthy and Bendick. My two kind of scrub players who I have some bench switcheroo options are Kai, who we'll know if he's even in the 18 or not. And I think that there's a couple other 4 million forwards with RSL, so I think it'd be easy enough to switch if he is starting, or playing on the 18, whatever. You don't want to mess up, your switches with a 1-point player. But Thorkelson is on bye week, so he's definitely not playing. So one of these three can switch in with Wiley, Chiellini, and Ferreira. So we will see kind of which two of those players will come in for me. And then I think that this is a decent week for Kai Wagner, kind of going a little bit big there with the defense with Wagner and Gressel. Big at the back. I think Driussi should have a solid game against Colorado. Mukhtar is in there right now for Nashville. I don't know if I'm going to stick with him or maybe kind of shake things up a little bit. Cincinnati, I think, has a decent defense. And like I said, they've shown that they can kind of get out some results. So I might move him out. Tillman with LA. I just think that he's a great pick. I think he had a goal last week. So he's definitely a good price and is a player that he'll be in my roster, no doubt, along with Espinoza and Herrera. Right now I have Iwobice as my starting forward. I just like his matchup. He's looked really good this year. Toronto's going to be missing a lot of players. So this is, I think, kind of a tricky week, like I said, with everybody out. And but might be a fun week. So, yeah. Anyway, thank you for checking out the video, and please like and subscribe if you have enjoyed it. Enjoy all the soccer this week, and I will see you next time. Bye.